Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. It's great to have you on the channel with me today. We're going to be watching several areas in the tropics, eastern Gulf off the southeast coast. We'll also be watching the Cape Verde region as we start to see some big tropical waves coming off the coast of Africa here. In particular, all eyes are going to be on the eastern Gulf and the southeast coast over the next week or two, where a stalled frontal boundary could spin up a tropical storm with plenty of flood potential. We will be watching some major tropical waves here over the intertropical convergence zone rage across Africa and come off the Cape Verde Islands here, potentially increasing the chances late July of maybe a tropical storm. And the weather pattern continues to be very active across eastern North America with severe weather chances and flood threats. Let's get into it. All right, so starting off here with the tropics, we're going to be watching a few areas. Look at the wave action coming off the Cape Verde Island region just south here. That is some big tropical waves as we head in time. We're going to be watching those areas very closely as we stretch through Friday and Saturday here. You can see we have a stalled out frontal boundary along the southeast coast, high pressure to the north, also high pressure here to the east, clearing conditions across much of the Caribbean islands here. So as we kick this through July 13th into the 14th, you can see what's going to be happening. This is going to start to come together, the tail end of this frontal boundary around Florida. We're going to watch for this potential of tropical moisture and organized thunderstorm activity, and it's going to be being pushed slowly to the west as this high pressure, this subtropical high, builds to the west. So watch out. This is the area we're going to be watching over the next several days to couple weeks. You can see right around here, July 15th into the 16th, this inclement weather just continues as this high pressure builds here to the west. So right over Florida and the Carolinas initially. And as you can see on the 16th, we start to get a spin up here trying to develop into something potentially here. So the GFS and the European going crazy with this. You can see this latest run of the GFS showing right around 5 p.m. on the 17th. So we're getting into next week, about a week from now. You can see this circulation just continuing to hang out as this high pressure is really building really far to the west here. It does kick a lot of the rainfall out of the eastern mid-Atlantic here, so that's a development we'll have to keep an eye on. But this latest run of the GFS briefly brings it out over the Gulf and then back towards the Georgia area. So this is something we'll have to watch here. As we go through the 19th, you can see why isn't it moving much? Well, we have blocking high to the north, also blocking high to the east. Look at what's happening here. So any sort of development will be slow, but I'm pretty sure at this point we're going to see something out of this, especially with these clusters of showers and thunderstorms just hanging out over the Gulf and the southeast coast. You can see it right on the 20th and the 21st. Major flare-ups of heavy rain. You know there's going to be some tremendously heavy rain from Florida all the way over to southeast Louisiana and all the way up into parts here of the southern mid-Atlantic and southeast. We're definitely going to see some sort of problems here as we continue to go in time. Now, let's get a timestamp on this. This is the 23rd. Look at this. Has not moved much. This is that blocking pattern that we're heading into here. This high pressure, it's got it surrounded pretty much. So it's going to start to bend westward once again as we head towards the 24th here into the 25th. You can see it just hanging out once again along the eastern Gulf, spreading plenty of moisture up the Appalachians here. And you see on the last frame, here it is hanging out just south of east of New Orleans here as this high pressure builds even further to the west. All right, so for the rest of the tropics here, we're going to be looking at a few areas. Let's just back this up. You can see as we go in time, look at the tropical wave action coming off the Cape Verde Islands here. These are going to be some very potent tropical waves, and we can pretty much follow those, the intertropical convergence zone, lining up across the inner part of Africa here. Look at this, just lining up. It's really interesting to watch these tropical waves develop even inland here as we go through the 13th into the 14th through the middle part of July. Now, I hate to say this, but look at how dry it is through Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands. I know you need the rain here, especially Jamaica, the Cayman Islands. It's been so hot as of late, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like we can spare much rain here, unfortunately. Now, Nicaragua, Honduras, yeah, these are going to be the wet areas. Now, as we go through the 15th into the 16th, this is some strong tropical wave action south of the Cape Verde Islands. We also have another tropical wave gusting through Trinidad, Tobago here. Of course, the big show is around Florida here during this time. But as we continue to go through time, look at this. The dust is kind of thinning out here across the central Atlantic here. So that is a big change. I think the dust is going to become less of a factor. Now, look at this right around the 18th. This is where things really do start to change around the intertropical convergence zone. We get these big waves coming off here. Of course, the northern Caribbean islands seem unusually dry. Now, look what's lining up southeast of Trinidad, Tobago. We have a very strong tropical wave. We also have a strong tropical wave around Nicaragua, Honduras. Watching these line up across the southern Caribbean here. So look at that. Trinidad, Tobago, right around July 22nd. This looks like it has the potential to become something. So we're going to watch this here. I think conditions are favorable for further strengthening of any one of these tropical waves. And right off the screen here, if we just move over just a little to the right, we got a very strong tropical wave right around the 24th into the 25th. So here it is. We're just lining these up. And positive indications here on our last frame. Look at this. Right around Nicaragua, Honduras, Trinidad, Tobago, Barbados, St. Vincent, these areas. And if we just move a little bit off the screen here, look at these strong tropical waves lining up across Africa. Let's take a look at the European run. And looking at the European model here, tropics, thanks to Tropical Tidbits here for this. You can see what we're going to be looking at through Friday here. Look at this strong tropical wave that's gusting through the southern Lesser Antilles. Plenty of tropical moisture with it. We're also watching our stalled front here. That is what we're going to be watching as we go out here in time. You can see it flaring up every day, the diurnal heating. So here we go. Through Saturday, you can see that what's left of that tropical wave continuing to move in the direction of Jamaica, maybe getting us into some showers here. We'll take a look. See what rainfall amounts are looking like. That does look pretty heavy there, but much of it stays south of Jamaica through this forecast period, unfortunately. I do know you need the rain there, especially to cool things off, but look at this. Sunday, July 13th, we have a strong tropical wave hanging out here. Also another one right around the Yucatan and west of the Cayman Islands. And there's that stalled frontal boundary that we're going to be watching over the next couple weeks. That's going to be trouble. You can see through the 13th into the 14th, ultimately, we're seeing that clusters of showers and thunderstorms along the southeast coast. Things clearing out here across parts of the Caribbean until right around the 15th. That's where we start to see a surge. Right around the Lesser Antilles, we start to see these tropical waves bounce a little bit further to the north here towards the central Lesser Antilles. Look at Florida, though, all the way up the east coast. We're dealing with some tremendous tropical moisture here. You see this high pressure not moving much, this big old subtropical high. Watch it, because if this continues to build westward, that could push us back into the Gulf here. And here we go with July 17th. You can see tremendous tropical moisture hanging out along the eastern Gulf here into this off the southeast coast. That is going to continue in time. You can see July 18th, we're just off the southeast Louisiana coastline here. This is where models have been hinting some sort of tropical development over the next week or week and a half. Here's July 20th. You can see the flare up every day and plenty of deep tropical moisture off the eastern Gulf all the way up the outer banks of North Carolina. We also have another strong tropical wave just northeast of Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. Another one southeast of Trinidad, Tobago area here. We're going to keep watching that. Some showery conditions across parts of Central America around Belize during this time period. And as you can see, we go through the 22nd into the 23rd. You can see how persistent this is. If we have this many days with tremendous shower and thunderstorm action across the eastern Gulf, you know that's going to flare something up, especially with these water temperatures. So the signals are there. We're not seeing like explosive development on the models, but you can see that persistence is all you need to get some sort of tropical storm here into parts of the Gulf. And look at this. You can see the high pressure pretty much anchored over this area, trying to build westward, and these tropical waves bouncing north towards the Lesser Antilles. And sea surface temperature analysis here. Look at the East Coast, off the East Coast here. It is unbelievably warm here. We're talking some areas as much as 2 to 5 degrees above average. Look at the Central and Eastern Gulf as well. Very, very warm, 1 to 2 degrees on average. Warming up around the Lesser Antilles here. Also, still a little cool in the Southern Caribbean here, but look at areas around the Cayman Islands and Western Cuba warming up. And we're also seeing things start to warm up as the Saharan dust kind of thins out. The Cape Verde season here. And the Western Caribbean here for rainfall amounts on our European run. Yeah, you're getting a little bit through the weekend. Jamaica, Cayman Islands, you're pretty much seeing nothing. Dominican Republic as well, about 7 to 14 millimeters. Much of this is in eastern parts of Belize and eastern Nicaragua and Honduras here, where you'll see 40 to 80 millimeters. But look at this as we head through the third week of July. Yeah, Central America really moistens up here. Some areas eclipsing 100 to 200 millimeters here, Belize, Nicaragua, and Honduras. Look at Jamaica, though. Over a 2-week period, you're only getting about 20 to 50, maybe as high as 60 millimeters in some of these areas. Eastern tip, though, getting upwards of 88 millimeters. Portland Parish there. So Dominican Republic, similar story, 40 to 80 millimeters. And look at Puerto Rico here. We're averaging out to about 1/4 to 1/2 an inch of rain. And the GFS here into the Western Caribbean. Look at this. Yeah, there is some glimmers of hope here on the GFS around Jamaica. Maybe we're seeing somewhere around 70, 80 millimeters. Western areas, Portland Parish as well. So we'll continue to watch it here as we just go through the 26. Look at this. Eastern Honduras, upwards of close to 250 to 300 millimeters. Same for Belize here. Rest of Honduras, anywhere from 60, 70, 80 millimeters. Jamaica, depending on where you are, look at that. Portland Parish, upwards of 127 millimeters. Some areas getting upwards of 90 millimeters, the western part of the island. Cayman Islands, it's kind of a rain hole here, maybe 20 millimeters or less. Dominican Republic, look at this. Right around the 30 to 60 millimeter, locally higher amounts in some of those higher elevations. Puerto Rico, you're looking around maybe 1/2 an inch on average here. But the big show is up here across Florida. And looking at the Eastern Caribbean here, European rainfall amounts, you can see the Southern Lesser Antilles, Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada, St. Vincent, Barbados. These areas are going to see the lion's share of the rainfall. You can see all the way over the 2-week period. The Lesser Antilles getting the brunt of it, 60 to as much as 100 millimeters, with some of these eastern-facing islands upwards of 100 to 125 millimeters. There is a rain hole around the Virgin Islands here, anywhere from 10 millimeters or less. There's Puerto Rico as well. So there you have it. Tropical wave action is going to increase here across the Southern Lesser Antilles. All right, so let's take a look at the GFS rainfall totals here. This is what we're looking at. Yeah, really moistening up here around the Lesser Antilles, right around that third week of July. Look at this. Some areas approaching 175 to 250 millimeters. Trinidad, Tobago, watch out here, all the way up to Barbados and Grenada. All right, so the tropical troubles we have with our potential southeast and Gulf system, taking us through a week, and then here is 2 weeks. Look at this. Yeah, some areas I think could approach 6 to 12 inches of rain. And this is just going to be a very slow-moving, dangerous flood threat of a storm, so to speak here. So most of Florida reaching 6 inches, higher amounts likely. 12 inches here along portions of the Gulf Coast, all the way up the outer banks of North Carolina, many areas approaching 6, 7, 8 inches. And here we go with the latest European run. Look at this as we go out the next couple weeks. Here's a week out, and then look at this. Now, the Euro goes a little bit more tepid on rainfall amounts. Most areas getting between 2 and 5 inches, with locally higher 6 to 8 inch potential totals here. So very similar areas, though. So keep in mind, this is going to be a very slow-moving tropical system. All right, so what's going on out here in the Western Pacific? Not a whole lot in some areas. Seoul, South Korea, look at this. You start off very clear the next couple days on into the weekend. it is very clear. Even over to Japan for much of the Japanese islands here, we're looking mostly clear through at least the first part of the weekend. Now, let me just back up here because things are going to get a little conglomerated here. The northern and central Philippines don't look too bad the next couple days. Look what's trying to form here south of the Japanese islands, also east of Shanghai. We may have a flare-up of what's left of Tropical Storm Danas here. South Korea, look at that. Seoul remaining mostly clear through this. Shanghai as well. Japan, you're going to bear the brunt of a lot of this tropical moisture. Now, right now, it looks like these are synoptic low-pressure systems, thankfully, so you're just going to deal with a lot of synoptic heavy rains. It does look like South Korea gets in the act of it, as well as North Korea right around the 16th into the 17th. Now, look what starts to show up here on our GFS run. We have a potential for a tropical cyclone forming northeast of the Philippines, and this is also going to get the central Philippines and the northern Philippines into some flood threats here. This is looking very concerning. This does look like it's going to come out of a very large circulation, so Okinawa here up the Japanese island chain, you may be looking at some serious problems. Could this become a super typhoon? It's quite possible, and it does look like it's going to target some of the same areas Typhoon Danas did. So watch out. This comes in a very similar location to Typhoon Danas as well, and then moves inland, becomes a major flood threat to China. Look at Japan, though. Pretty clear. South Korea, maybe just a few showers around Seoul, drying out around the 22nd. But what is this? Let me just stop this right here. Look at this. This is a big surge of tropical moisture towards Japan. Right now, it looks synoptic in nature, but you never know which one of these can form into a potential tropical system. And then we see this is very unusual. Look at how robust this is, the intertropical convergence zone. We may be heading for trouble out here in the Western Pacific. All right, so here we are with our future radar, the rest of the evening into the overnight hours. Yeah, showers and thunderstorms are going to continue to weaken as the daytime heating goes away through 2 a.m. on Friday morning. Look at these mesoscale convective complexes, though, around Chicago and Des Moines here. These areas are going to see some very inclement weather, stormy conditions. Those will weaken as they head east, though. By 2 p.m. Friday, we're seeing just a little bit of that action. Down through parts of Florida here, we can see some showers and thunderstorms, and then through Mississippi as well, southeastern Louisiana, and then parts of southeast Texas through the woodlands here. So you get the idea. We're going to see some big-time thunderstorms here into southern Wisconsin, eastern Iowa, and we're going to see those pop-up showers and thunderstorms in all of these locations once again. Look at through the northeast here, some of these cells kicking up. Nothing too terribly severe, though. They're going to be pretty isolated. We could have an isolated severe cell, though, with damaging wind and some large hail. But there you go. As the daytime heating goes away through 1 a.m. on Saturday, you get the idea. Things kind of fizzle out. Look at all this tropical moisture off the coast, though. This is what we're going to have to watch out, because these are the things that spin up into tropical systems. And here we go, 2 p.m. on July 12th. This is Saturday. Look at this sharp line of thunderstorms moving through Michigan and Indiana and parts of Illinois here. We're also going to see explosive development as we head later on in the weekend as that continues. And look at the Gulf Coast here, really lighten up here with tropical moisture. All right, so let's take a look at your forecast. Picking up where our future radar left off, you can see what we're going to be looking at as we head on into the weekend. It's all going to start with this. This is going to be our big weather maker here, unfortunately. I hate to say that. Here's high pressure retreating to the northeast. We're going to see a big storm system moving through the Ohio Valley into the northeast as we head on into Saturday and into Sunday. Sunday in particular, look at this. Lots of deep tropical moisture from Florida all the way up the U.S. East Coast here in interior sections as well. Could see some strong to severe thunderstorm and flood threat potential. Now, of course, as I showed you on the tropics, this is going to be the big story across the southeast as that system emerges from the southeast coast. If I can get my pencil to work here, and then kind of moves over this direction. It's going to kind of move about in this, do a few loops, because it's pretty much blocked and cut off with this high-pressure systems off the U.S. East Coast. Now, look at this storm system. Unfortunately, it rides just further to the north and east. It doesn't look like it's going to pick up this tropical system to the south. In fact, all it does is pretty much stall out 17th and the 18th across the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, where you could have some strong thunderstorms and heavy rain during this time. That moves off the coast as it kind of washes out with our tropical system down here across the Carolinas. So this system across the Southeast, this could be with us for a very long time. Now look at this here into northern New York, southern Ontario, northern New England. We could be looking at a mesoscale convective system as we try to get some sort around this tropical entity of potential. Look at this, dropping out of Michigan, Wisconsin. We could have some of these strong mesoscale convective complexes move across the lakes here down and through parts of New England. So it's a very dangerous weather pattern to get into because those can cause some serious damage. So as we head through the 24th into the 25th, of course, there it is. Deep tropical moisture. We do get a low pressure moving through the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast here. Look at this tropical surge just continuing through the 26th into the 27th here. Look at this all the way up the East Coast. And then there's what's potentially looking as our system bends back towards the west once again. And severe weather threat for your Friday. You can see slight risk from Detroit down to Chicago and Kansas City. Watch out. This is going to be where the greatest risk, that slight risk, exists. We may have a mesoscale convective system that may try to fire up. Also a marginal threat across the western Carolinas, Virginia, on up into central Pennsylvania and parts of New York State into western New England here. And watch out, a large area of marginal risk from eastern New Mexico, panhandle of Texas, much of western Texas, all the way up to Michigan. Michigan is where you're going to see the highest risk on Saturday. You can see it right around Detroit area, Lansing, these areas, northern part of Indiana and northwestern Ohio. And if we pick up where our future radar left off here with the European model, as we continue throughout the weekend, you can see storminess spreading eastward here. Look at Saturday, those showers and thunderstorms pivoting eastward here into the Northeast, also the Ohio Valley, the Midwest, and down into portions of the Mississippi River Valley. Also, the Southern Plains, that's going to continue to push eastward into Sunday. We're going to see a reignition of those showers and thunderstorms across the Ohio Valley, the eastern Great Lakes. Watch out. Some of these could pack a punch with damaging wind and large hail continuing here. And as we continue through time, you can see Monday, this 14th into the 15th, you see this frontal boundary continuing to stall out here along the East Coast. Unfortunately, this is going to be the focal point for surging, training, heavy rain, and thunder showers. That's just going to continue here through Tuesday, the 15th into the 16th. You start to see the evidence of this area of low pressure taking over across the Southeast. That is going to push tropical moisture up through the Mid-Atlantic and portions of the Southeast here. This is where we could see the reignition of showers and thunderstorms right in the Eastern Gulf here. The European continuing to show this, strengthening with the potential for a tropical system as we go through the 19th into the 20th. You see every day we have these showers and thunderstorms hanging out from North Carolina all the way down through Florida here and the Eastern Gulf. So this is something we're going to have to watch here. Very persistent thunderstorms on the tail end of this frontal boundary could continue to show that we may actually have some sort of tropical system try to form here into the Gulf. And the rest of the country, yeah, this is where we're going to just watch for potential major problems with flooding. And here we are with precipitation amounts on our European run. Yeah, look at all this off the Carolina coast. This is early in the forecast period here. So we're just going to continue to watch that through the weekend here. That is with our potential developing system and just filling in all the way through July 25th here. Look at this. This is the area we're going to be watching very closely, especially the Eastern Gulf here off the southeast coast. And at times, surges of tropical moisture will funnel up along these frontal boundaries that stall out along the East Coast. Anywhere from, say, look at this, 5, 6, 7, 8 inches across parts of the Gulf Coast, Florida here, all the way up into the Carolinas. Some areas getting close to 7, 8 inches of rain, all the way up here into parts of eastern Pennsylvania, upstate New York. Yeah, this could be a major problem. Flood threats. So our latest GFS precipitation outlook. Look at this. Yeah, this is a crazy amount of rain. And, you know, the latest run pushing it more towards southeastern Louisiana, the Gulf Coast, some of these areas approaching 10 to 12 inches, all the way up the Outer Banks region, 6, 8 inches in some of these locations. it's going to get pretty dangerous here, so watch out. And then inland, 2 to 3 inches in these red zones. It's stormy times ahead. And before continuing with more weather coverage here, if you made it this far in the video and you like it, please smash that like button, everyone. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I respond to pretty much all questions or comments. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, bell notification button. It's amazing how many of you watch but haven't subscribed yet, so hit that. And also, if you haven't caught my 2025 Hurricane Outlook, a link in the description down below and at the end of this video. So I go over the entire hurricane season of how many storms I think is going to happen. Let's continue. And our upper air weather pattern here for the North American continent. Very stubborn ridge up here in the northeast and southeast Canada. That's going to continue, but look at this weakness across the southeast. That's with our frontal boundary that could ignite a tropical wave into a tropical storm as we go through mid to late month here. You can see we do have an area of high pressure that does try to build over it, so that might make conditions even more favorable for development here. But it's something we're going to watch as we go through the 22nd here into the 23rd. You can see this troughiness pinwheeling from the North Pole here. It does start to make its presence felt, so a trough. But look at that. That's short-lived. Look at this ridge. I think a big, huge heat dome is going to set up here across eastern North America here. And looking at the NAO index here, yeah, positive now, but look at how stormy and blocky things are going to get mid to late month here, going through July into the beginning of August. And the MJO index, yeah, really kind of strange because going from phase 4, 5, and 6, these are weak phases, meaning very quiet weather. So it's pretty much maybe the MJO is canceling out the NAO index here, and we're kind of going neutral for everything. A normal weather pattern, hopefully. And looking at our Canadian weather outlook here, let's see what we got going on. We got a very active weather pattern, especially across Ontario here initially. Friday into your Saturday, look at this tremendous rainfall. We may even see some severe weather across parts of Ontario and western Quebec here as we head on into the first part of the weekend. Look at that line of heavy convection up here into Quebec. That becomes more cold core and wrapped around Hudson Bay here. Now look at out here. Pacific system moving into British Columbia and Alberta. That's some good news for some wildfire situations out here. And look at this. New Brunswick, we get kind of a coastal tropical moisture surge up here into New Brunswick. Manitoba. Look at this. Southern Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Western Ontario, right around the 15th as we get into next week. We could be looking at some very stormy weather conditions, severe weather, flood threat running high here. This moves into Ontario and Quebec the 16th, and on into the 17th. It drags this cold front south and east across Ontario and Quebec in the Canadian Maritimes. Now look at behind it. It is much quieter for the most part. We do get a flare-up on the southern end of this system across Manitoba. We may see some afternoon showers and thunderstorms on the 18th across Ontario. But look at this. Out west here, we're going to see some storms firing from Saskatchewan, Alberta, British Columbia, and up into the Northwest Territories of the Yukon up here. So watch out. It's active times. Very active weather pattern. Here it is across southern Ontario. Those mesoscale convective complexes start to fire up. Look at across western parts of Canada here. Continued beneficial rains. And we're going to watch those mesoscale convective complexes rage across southern Ontario and Quebec. Watch out. Some of these could really pack a punch as we go through the 23rd, 24th, even some of them getting over towards New Brunswick and Nova Scotia here. So a very stormy weather pattern. This is actually some good news for Canada, really helping you with the wildfire situation. All right, so for Canadian weather outlook, precipitation outlook, look at this. Yeah, they're going out to the third week of July. Pretty much everywhere. Look at the West Coast, Pacific systems, upwards of 200 millimeters along the coast. Even wildfire areas starting to get in on the act as well. These red zones are 60 to 100 millimeters, and the yellow zones are above 100 millimeters, which is approaching 4 inches plus. So this is some good news for the wildfire situation. Temperature-wise is going to be crazy. Look at this. Yeah, It's not like excessively hot, but the humidity is going to be crazy here, with dew points well into the high 60s and 70s in many locations, 90s spreading their way eastward. Friday into Saturday, you can see, look at the 90s spreading their way into the Ohio Valley in the Northeast. This is just the story of our entire summer here. Heat and humidity will be building here into Sunday as well. Look at the entire country here. Every state has at least one 90-degree reading, except I think Maine here does not, but that is pretty remarkable. And then as we continue through Monday, July 14th, look at this. Yeah, we get a little bit of a cool down here into the Northeast, mid-80s. Yeah, still a lot of humidity, though, I hate to say. Look at the heat is just baking out west as well. And then look at July 15th, we see another surge of 90s here into the Midwest, the lakes, and the Northeast. It's going to be crazy as we go out here in time into Wednesday, July 16th. Yeah, look at this coming, but look at this massive surge of 90s into the Ohio Valley, into the Northeast. The extended forecast for hometown viewers, Binghamton to the Scranton, Upper Susquehanna River Valley of New York and Pennsylvania here. Look at this. Friday, we're into the 90s. Sunny skies, chance of showers and thunderstorms. We have into Saturday, look at this. More 90s, showers and thunderstorms as we progress, especially in the afternoon and evening hours. Into Sunday, more chances of showers and thunderstorms likely, especially mid-morning onward. We're going to see those 90-degree plus temperatures again Sunday night into Monday. More showers and thunderstorms likely continuing into Tuesday. It is just going to be a crazy time. We do start to see a little bit of a break in the precipitation, though, by Tuesday. Plenty more weather to come. Here is a look at my affiliate. Check out these awesome, amazing maps. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease, or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget, it's MeteoMark.com. And don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button, or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks, everyone. Share that video. Subscribe if you haven't. Smash that like button.